I'd like to ask the folks from your research what part actual silence plays in your research as part of mental training. Do you have any data on what the brain looks like when it's completely silent of thoughts?
Well, actually, I would defer. I would ask Mathieu to answer that question, since Mathieu has been a very important collaborator and a research participant, and has had the training that I haven't had. I would
sense of thought, yes.
Yes, to comment on the silence issue.
Well, again, silence in which way? If it's silence means the absence of just discursive thinking, the mental chatter that's always taking place, either because we're engaged in reasoning or interpreting the outer world or reflecting, ruminating the past or imagining the future. Of course, that kind of chain reactions of thoughts somehow has an obscuring or can have an obscuring aspect when it's just going on automatically. Now, silence of just this rumination and mental constructions, that can be a meditative state. But of course, in fact, we somehow behind the stream and the veil of thoughts, or the curtains of those thoughts, we find an enhanced awareness and clarity and stability, which is by no means a silence in sense of dumbness, drowsiness, darkness, obscurity. It's actually a very vivid, aware state of mind. So you could call it silence of the mental constructions, but in no way a silence of awareness. That will be perceived state of the practitioner. But I'm sure His Holiness has more to
So what was the second point you were talking about?
Nam tu rang shin ta deba magawa che ni te pena rikpa da wo shi kyang ba che selcha tang te sebo ina tamo ina.
It seems to me that that from a Christian meditation perspective, which we usually call contemplation, two words are interchangeable at this level of discussion, we emphasize intentionality, that is to say, silence as an intention has a significant effect on the process of meditation, whether you're having thoughts, feelings, external sounds, or whatever. And it's getting used to disregarding the flow of thoughts that leads into deeper levels of interior silence and peace. And at that level, we seem to be touching or experiencing a deeper level of human nature than ordinary psychological awareness. And this level is usually known as the spiritual level of our being, or in terms of the perennial philosophy, the intuitive level of consciousness and beyond. So the mental training that you have started to do in all these various units around the country, which is a wonderful contribution to the suffering of people, might be enhanced or increased by the introduction or addition of the aspect of intentionality, which enables one deliberately to let go of thoughts or feelings which are negative. And I think that I might say that Christian meditation emphasizes heartfulness. In other words, there's an effective, not so much feeling, but a deliberate movement of the spiritual will towards the ends that you're trying to achieve. St. John of the Cross puts it this way, putting it in terms of a relationship with God. God meaning here the ultimate reality, or whatever your label for the ultimate reality might be. God happens to be the Judeo-Christian way of expressing this mystery. Well, it's a relationship with ultimate reality that constitutes human health ultimately. Because the source of our being is also sustaining us at all times, and so obviously to live according to our inner nature is going to produce health, whereas not doing so is going to produce what you're researching. So St. John of the Cross says human health consists primarily of being continuously in the presence of ultimate reality. That's a kind of super mindfulness, you might say, in which we're not mindful just of the objects of sense, which is a preliminary discipline, but of the broader reality out of which all sense experiences is emerging. And the sense, another way of putting it, is awareness of the ground of our being. And so that sense of relating to ultimate reality is the ultimate source of security, love, and freedom, which, as someone said here earlier, is who we really are. We just think we aren't. Stop thinking often enough, and it begins to insinuate itself into activity and forms the background or ground or a kind of fourth dimension to the three-dimensional world we live in.
John?
Well, how to bring people into that space, that's the purpose of religion, and it could be the purpose of medicine.
Your implication is very, very well taken, and I think it's more the limitations of time that left out some of the elements of how this is worked with. So attention and intention actually work extremely beautifully together to actually further the possibility of waking up, to use a different vocabulary, to the actuality of one's experience, which you could say was the ground of being, or you could say was the groundlessness of being in some way. So that there's no interruption in the continuity of experience between, say, the sensory domain and the domain that goes into awareness itself, which is virtually boundless, and exactly what Albert Einstein was pointing to in that quotation. Our own orientation is that that's present in every moment, that there's no time that any of us are away from that. And the question is, can we tune the organism through attention, intention, and their skillful use to cultivate the capacity to be more in touch, so to speak, in every domain with that underlying silence that's never not thunderous.